Season 55, War number 8. Today we've matched up against J-Win. The bans are Corvus, Count Nefaria, Null, Silk, and Onslaught. And my team today is Medusa, Luke Cage, and America Chavez. Starting today on Path 6, we're going to fight this Shuri here on Node 6. And this is going to be a pretty cool war for my fresh, brand new Rank 3 Medusa. We have 3 fights with her, starting with this Shuri, and then the final 2 fights of this 9-fight war are also going to be with Medusa, taking a really cool Warlock mini-boss and a Shocker war boss. So, without further ado, let's just get into it, starting against this Shuri, which really doesn't have any nodes that matter that much. We are going to manage aggression prowess, or combat tissue prowess, as well as I can, and that's about as far as you need to know for this fight, aside from it just being a regular Shuri. So, now she's untouchable. Medusa doesn't have any way of mitigating that, so just kind of have to wait it out. I tried to dex her special 1 there, did not have the correct spacing, however Medusa's auto block kind of saved me, which is definitely very helpful. So, she just goes down, and there's not much left to say about it, and we move on to the next fight, which is going to be against an America Chavez on Node 15, another fight that doesn't really mean much, especially with the decay tactic. Path 6 is usually a joke of a path in general, at least in the Section 1 version. It might be the easiest path in Section 1, but we're just going to get to Luke's SP2. That's going to place a concussion, shut down virtually everything in the fight, and just like last war, where we fought America Chavez, whenever you inflict a wither via the tactic, that is going to remove any dimensions that she had, and then Luke Cage's concussions are also going to prevent the damage reflect from Dark Dimension. So we didn't really get a second to remove the Dark Dimension because the concussions were actually failing the placebos from being placed on me, which is a little frustrating, but you know, it didn't really matter. So now we're fighting this Havoc on Node 26. Havoc doesn't do anything on this node. It's basically just a path splitting placement. And the exhaustions from Luke's kit are going to be very helpful in reducing the ability power rates that Havoc has. Once we get concussions up, it's just going to fail most of his abilities and such. And yeah, like I said, this Havoc is doing nothing here, so it's kind of just a Luke versus Havoc BG's fight, if I do say so myself. However, we're going to drop the SB2 into his block, because of course we are, and that's going to complicate things a little bit. Maybe not complicate things, maybe just make the fight last longer is a better way to put it. Plasma Detonate did nothing because of decay, so that's super nice. But he did decide to just hit into me somehow. I got caught, I guess. But it's whatever. We're going to actually land the SP2 this time, which is going to place the concussion, place the slow, and there's just a bunch of unique debuffs. We're going to get a bunch of extra attack rating, and then I want to be going for the kill as soon as I can. Havoc reduces crit damage rating by a lot, so that's making the fight last a lot longer. But we're almost there. We're going to go for a couple SP1s, and that's going to do the job. So, a fight that should have been way quicker if I didn't just drop an SP2 into his block because I was slow. But, whatever. We got out the fight fine. Now we're using Chavez for this one fight against Node 35 Gore. Gore is on this node very often, and just Chavez kind of annihilates the fight, so there's not much to it. It's going to last like 23 seconds if I remember correctly. We just use a PS1, then I'm going to go for an SB1 here after my Utopian Parallel. He's going to gain a few more buffs from his SB1, but it doesn't matter because we dropped the SB2 after my heavy attack and he's very dead. And we got a little bit of healing back, which meant nothing because we're not using Chavez for another fight, but that's cool. So now we're fighting Strife on Node 37. Why is Strife placed on this node? I have zero clue. But Node 37 is the least threatening Alliance War mini-boss node on the entire map, so I guess that makes sense. That of all nodes on the mini-boss, Strife would be placed here, because he is a meaningless defender for the most part. He's gonna be able to activate his cloak sometimes if we don't fail it all the time with concussion, which we pretty much are. It's also just a chance and a sig ability, and I'm going to assume this Strife isn't very high sig. So we're just going for a bunch of SP1s at this point. The concussion is failing all of Strife's kit. It's also failing the regeneration from triggering, which is also getting countered by Despair. So this is just a complete joke of a fight. We go for another SP2 here. It does not kill because the final hit got glanced. However, he goes down just like that right after. And then we move on to actually some interesting fights, starting with this Thanos on node 41. I took this fight a couple wars ago. It was sketchy. If Decay wasn't a busted OP tactic, I probably would have died. But yeah, we lived, and then this fight's gonna go almost perfectly. We need to get to the SP2 as fast as we can, place the concussion from it, which is cool. Try to keep up knocking Thanos down to keep the slow going. And yeah, I'm running an invul to push Thanos to an SP3 if I need to. And unlike last time I took this fight, my invul does not get eaten up like very early on. So we go for this SP2 here, place a 75% concussion, and at this point I'm just going to push him to a special 3 because I can just tank it with an invul boost, so who cares? He has a concussion up here, a protection up there, so I neglected to drop my SP1, and we're just going to eat this SP3 with the indestructible boost, take no damage from it, take no damage from the corrosion afterwards via decay, and we're just big chilling. Drop an SP2 here, it does decent damage, another concussion's active. Now we can go for some SP1s, which he does still trigger the protection, so that's not subject to ability accuracy. But yeah, there's like nothing left to the fight. I think we're gonna kill him before he even gets to drop that next SP3 with a 20k medium right there, and then he goes down. So very, very nice fight. We move on to the third mini-boss this video against Mangog on node 46, also taking this with Luke Cage. Last Luke Cage fight this war, then we're finally going to get to the Medusa fights that I hope you guys stuck around for, because those are the most interesting fights here, if I do say so myself. But actually, this fight did go kind of interesting, because I'm going to go for a very, very, very normal intercept, and the AI is going to punch away my entire invul boost immediately. So now my strategy of pushing Mangog to an SP3 and tanking it is completely out the window. So we have to rely on something else that I didn't know if it would work or not, but kind of was going on a hunch that it would, and that is the fact that the concussions are actually going to fail the unblockable node. I could not confirm that this was going to happen. I just kind of thought that it would, and I'm lucky that it did, because other than that, if I didn't fail the unblockable, I would eat a very unblockable SP2 and maybe die. So yeah, it's okay. I could also do the partial dex into block special 2. That is usually pretty successful as well. Now we're gonna go for an SP2 again, place another concussion. The fight goes worse the longer it goes on, so we really want this guy to die fast, because that's just how Aspect of Evolution works. The longer you're in the fight, the scarier it's going to get. But this is the third SP2 I'm taking on the block. We're still chilling. The Sunder is up now, so we're breaking through all that crit resist from Aspect of Evolution, and the fight goes down. So nice. Now, node 48 Warlock. We have a Wags pre-fight here from another Alliance member that is just going to make it easier. Warlock's not really doing much on this node. It is a bit of a weird placement, if I do say so myself. Well, he's not doing much on this node when Medusa's in play, which she is. So yeah, this is going to be pretty fun. I'm activating an invul boost just in case, but it's mainly for the Shocker boss afterwards and not for this fight. But yeah, we're just going to try to get to an SP1. I was hoping that he wouldn't drop that special first. I made sure that he didn't go unstoppable after I dexed, and then we're going to go for this SP1, and the fight is shut down. Like, the fight is just totally over at this point. We have the Armor Shatter. All of the abilities from Warlock are off. The node is shut off. Decay, I think, is shut off. I honestly can't even confirm that or not. So yeah, we just go for a relic here, and then we do a couple hits, and he's dead. So, next up, we have the Shocker boss. Normally, when planning wars, I send Serpent to this fight, but I had my rank 3 Medusa that I wanted to play around with, so I was just like, I'll take this myself. It's going to be relatively easy. And yeah, it's going to go pretty well. I didn't end up sending Serpent at all this war because I didn't really find a big reason to, especially if I was going to take the boss. So, the biggest threat of this is keeping up these slow. Because oftentimes Shocker is going to make you dex a lot, because you are forced to dex both of his special attacks pretty much, so you do need to have that slow up as often as possible. Here I'm taking the SP2 in the block, and it does a lot of block damage, but it's okay. Checking to make sure that I didn't trigger an unstoppable when the special ended, and then we're going back into it. I'm going for a pretty large SP2 coming up, with hopefully my max Furies, and we go for it right here with 6 of them. So 7 is the max because of, or 8 is the max maybe, I don't know. It's just, she has 6 normally, and then we're getting Furies from the boss node as well, so that's just giving me more. Yeah, and he's dead there. So that was a Shocker boss in a minute. Honestly, it could have been under a minute, but I wish it was, but that's fine. We take it down in a minute and 1 second. And that is my war. We did win this war 9-8, very close one. But yeah, GG's to J-Win. And that's it from me, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed watching the video, and I'll see you in the next one.